So how does this work then? I'm taking the EV here off for a road trip. I'm going to be doing more mileage across the time that I'm away, journey to the cottage that I'm staying in, journey back, and trips out and about, more than the range of this car. And yet, I won't be using any rapid charges during my stay. So how does that work then? So not only is this a very nice cottage out in West Sussex, we are, West Sussex. It's very nice actually here, it's a very nice barn conversion. And the added bonus for me as an EV driver, parking my EV here over my left shoulder, is that also just on the wall here, as you can see, is an EV charger, which is a bit of a bonus. It's a Zappy, so it's the same as the charger that I've got at home. Not that that really matters, but that is a bonus. Because, and actually, I said to the owners of the cottage here, of the barn conversion, how do I pay you for the electricity that I'm going to use to charge up my EV? And they said, don't worry, it's all included. What a bonus. But I'm not going to be taking the mick, don't worry. I will be only charging up what I need to use. It's only fair, isn't it? But that's brilliant. The other thing, have a look over here, because this barn conversion also has an air source heat pump. Again, something that I have myself at home. And so this is a really sustainable place to stay. In fact, that's what they said to me that they wanted to do when they built the place, make it sustainable. And it also has a photovoltaics on the roof. So that's really, really, really good. I'm really happy about that.
Slow down and listen for a
Crampons.
with everything in motion. Here now.
Right, so I am now going to put the car on charge for the very first time at the cottage. So I'm going to try this Zappy. It looks, I don't know, it looks slightly smaller to the Zappy that I've got at home. So I don't know whether this is like a version 1. I know mine's a version, I think it's 2.1. If that means anything to you at all. But it looks slightly smaller to me. Does that matter? No, not in the slightest. So I'm going to find the charging cable now. This will be the very first time that I'm using the charging cable. So unlock the car. I haven't bought the car keys. Okay, take two. I now have the keys, which means the car should have unlocked itself. Hang on, or maybe not. If I put my hand on the handle, then it unlocks itself. So I do know how to use the car, honest. And so it's now going to be the time I'm going to use my I'm going to bump my head. I'm going to be using now the charging lead that the car came in this very attractive bag. Isn't that nice? So yes, this will be the very first time that I'll be using this charging lead that came with the car. Weighs an absolute ton actually. So I'm now going to try and take it out because, as you'll appreciate, I am doing this one-handed, and it's not easy with two, if I'm being perfectly honest. So there it is. So there is my charging cable that I have now got out for the very first time, and this would be a lot easier if I was using both hands. Right, so I've now got to plug this in both ends because my Zappy at home, the charger I've got at home, I went for the tethered version. The electrician who put it in for me, he said, whatever you do, don't get a tethered. He said, because things might change. I thought, no, they won't. But clearly he does know what he's talking about, because, you know, they might. And because if you've got a tethered charger, you're kind of stuffed really if things do change down the line. But I don't know, there's a lot of money going in to Type 2, like all these different CCS chargers that are out there. The rapids that have been put in, there's literally tons of them going in, and they all use this kind of connector. So I don't know, maybe I'll get away with it, but you know, there we are. So I now have to plug this in into the Zappy. So this is what the Zappy would have been like if I had got an untethered. So I've now got to plug this in, and I hope it's going to charge up because my car is down now on 18%. And so that might mean nothing to you, but who cares? But for me, this is a big thing because I am an awful long way from home. This is the furthest away from home that I have ever been, away from my charger, with a battery this low. So, you know, it's a rite of passage. So I'd never used an untethered Zappy before. I got a bit confused. I've plugged the cable in, it locked immediately, and then it says press plus to unlock. I thought it meant plus to lock it. So I pressed it and then the cable fell out. So you don't do that. You put it in and it locks it. Right, so now I'm gonna put the other end in. Yeah. Now because this looks like it might take me a while, my wife has brought me out a cup of tea. So everything is better with the world when you have a cup of tea in your hand. I'm British, it's in the DNA. Now I'm pleased to say that actually the cable that came with the car is quite long. I moved the car quite close to the charger because I didn't actually know how long this was. So now I'm going to plug it in and we'll see what happens. Okay, I've plugged it in. It says stopped on the charger. Stopped. It says stopped. What does that mean? Okay, so now I'm going to have to get it to... I suppose I press the buttons and then get it to start. It can't be that difficult, surely. Right, okay, so I've plugged it in. It says stopped. So if I now... It'd be quite good. How much is the panels doing? They're solar panels. Well, they're doing about 600 watts. So clearly that's not really enough anywhere. So I'm going to put it onto a fast charge. Waiting for EV. Checking, charging. Oh, okay, brilliant. So it really was as simple as that. I thought it would be. So I've plugged it in. It's just started charging, and I had a little notification on my phone to say it was charging. So I can go and sit in the garden, drink my tea in peace, and leave the car to charge, because that is what owning an EV is all about. Okay, it is several hours later, and the car has now charged up to 80% from its 18 or 19 or whatever it was on earlier, and I've had a little fight with the bag in order to get on the cable, out because it's dark around here. But anyway, that's my first charge then, using the cable that came with the car. And yes, this means that this holiday is going to be successful in that I won't have to actually charge up using a rapid while I'm out and about, and I'm going to be able to use the electricity for free, sort of, that comes with the cottage, which is kind of good, isn't it? It's clever, that's good. So I'm going to be able to drive around, drive here, drive around, drive home again, and yeah, I will only have had to use the charger at home and the charger at the cottage, and that's all. So that's really good, isn't it? I'm very pleased about that.
Waking up in the flower bed, the sun is up, table set, we eat and drink. Body and bread, blood and wine, there's a time to live, time to die, and a time to be. Slow down and listen for a heartbeat. With everything in motion, say a word, hold a hand. Life is not the sum of what we plan, but the in-between. This miracle of human life and the body and time that we occupy, it is all together sacred. Slow down and listen for a heartbeat. With everything in motion, oh, here now.
So there we are, that is my very first trip away in my EV. And I have to be honest with you, there's a tiny part of me that wishes that I had to use rapid chargers on my trip. Again, it's a rite of passage. It's that thing that you feel like you need to do, as an EV owner, and yet I didn't have to, which I suppose really on balance is a good thing, because the electricity was free, well, free to me anyway, and it meant that I could not worry. I didn't have to worry about going out and finding a charger. I could just plug in when I got back to the cottage, and if I needed to charge up, and then the next day, tootle off out for whatever I wanted to do for the day, which was kind of good. Of course it was good. I'm not knocking it. My wife and I actually booked that cottage before we realised it had an EV charger. That was a really added bonus. To find it had solar panels and a heat pump as well was just an added bonus. I'm very pleased about that. But I have to be honest, I kind of wish that I did have to go on a trip where I had to use a rapid charger, weird though it is, and I might of course change my mind if I get there and find there's a problem. But I suspect, actually, shock horror, that there wouldn't be. Anyway, that is a subject, I'm sure, for a future video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see that video, if you want to see it when that happens. Don't forget to hit like if you've enjoyed this rambly content, and I will see you for more Rambly Electric very soon.